What is up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys has yourselves a great week. Getting ready for the weekend. We are here with our episode 5, season 3 review of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. And before we get into all that, if you are new to the channel, obviously if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching on Rumble, give a follow over there. Several things. So, number one, we are going to do a live stream later on tonight around 7 p.m. across the Nerd Talk podcast channel, Kick, Twitch, and Rumble. So, you definitely come hang out and check that out. We're going to be going over some recent updates we've gotten with Spider-Man Brand New Day, some updates with Star Wars. We're going to talk a little bit about the month of July for Jurassic World, Rebirth, Superman, and Fantastic Four. And then we're going to talk about this whole collective shout MasterCard Visa situation that has been going on the past couple of days. And then tomorrow over on the gaming channel, we are going to be doing some live streaming of Skyrim. It's been quite some time since I played it, so I decided to jump back into it, and we're just going to hang out for a bit and play Skyrim. Pretty much that. So, just my overall thoughts about the episode was pretty good. It's pretty good. Obviously, we got kind of like Nurse or Ensign Gamble doing the voiceover, talking about being on the Enterprise and things like that. And apparently, he has put in requests to go on away missions at least 6 different times. The Enterprise crew, along with Chapel and Corby, are at a Veridia. I forgot the last name. I forgot the last name of the planet, but it's like Veridia or Verta. Basically, this is supposed to just be like another one of those archaeological finds. Like the native species have kind of declined joining the Federation several times, but they did allow them to have a small landing party, go down, check out the site and that kind of thing. So a lot of stuff here. So number one, Chapel is worried at the beginning of the episode. She's worried about obviously Spock and Corby maybe not getting along or something like that. Obviously you tell somebody, hey, let's take a break, and then the next time they see you, you have a new boyfriend. It's kind of like bad feelings right there. But we talked about last week's episode 2 about Spock and La'an, and I very much gave my grievance about how I don't really like this. But it seems like they're not, because the way La'an puts it, because her and Chapel talk for a little bit as they're making their way to the turbo lift, and talking about have how Spock doing, I'm just worried about him and Corby and things like that. And La'an's like, I don't really do this kind of girl conversation. And so Spock and La'an, the first thing I thought of was the way La'an described it. There's like no labels, no complications, just fun times. And I was just like, oh, they're friends with benefits. That's basically what this is. At least that's what it sounds like. Which still, regardless, I don't know. I really care for them even being in that kind of relationship. But if it's, I don't know, it's still a weird thing. But no, it's not like that. It's not like Chapel is. I don't know. She gives like several facial gestures throughout the episode. That's kind of like, oh, it's. She even brings up to Spock because Spock says, they end up in the same turbo lift, and as they go into the briefing for the mission, and it's just silence between the two, and she's just like, why are we always quiet when we need to talk? And Spock's like, I didn't realize there was something we need to discuss, and it just goes into a little bit, because Chapel's under the impression that Spock is coming along on the mission, but Spock tells her, no, I've maintained, or I've guaranteed safeguards to, prevent anything going crazy with the mission or anything like that. And that's when Gamble kind of comes in, and he's like, he's excited because he is going on the way mission as well. And it's a little awkward. You could definitely tell there's awkwardness there, and he's just kind of like, I interrupted something, didn't I? And because like he Gamble didn't get a name until I think episode 3, because he was just showing up, and I don't think he was in. I don't remember if he was in episode 1. But the past couple episodes, he had been showing up, and they didn't really name him until I think the actor himself, went on his Instagram, was like, "Hey, this is Gamble," like at least that kind of thing. But so the away team down to the planet, because Corby has already made his way down there, but the away team is going to consist of Uhura, Kirby, Gamble, and Beto Ortegas. Beto's here just to, well, part of the it's a lot of Starfleet mumbo jumbo, but he's basically going to film the missions that Enterprise goes on, that kind of stuff. So I think that's it. I think that's everybody. So Spock mentions how he is going to stay on Enterprise and monitor everything from the ship. And that's where kind of like Chapel's like, "Oh, you're not coming down and everything." Pelia's there too. Pelia's just being very gung ho for the cameras, because again, Beto has like cameras around just recording the briefing and everything like that, and it's a little wild. But so they go down to the planet, and everything is going fine. They're able to unearth a much larger structure than what they recently anticipated, because Corby and Chapel talk about how they have come across these same kind of structures or same kind of like text and stuff like that on different systems. So their thought process is these guys it's in a very advanced technology, potentially a very advanced race with the ability to probably be immortal. Now, obviously, Spock kind of like shrugged that off, but they can't get in. The only way for them to get in is basically the talks of like a blood sacrifice to the gods, that kind of thing. Corby gets ready to go, basically just slice his hand. Chapel stops him, kind of looks around, and she kind of lets her finger get pricked and use her blood. It activates the door. Now that comes into play a lot later on as well, but it opens the door and everybody's able to go in. Everybody's just, looking around, exploring. Beto finds, I didn't say, I think it was like maybe 2 bodies, or at least 2 skeletal remains of people, and Gamble and Chapel determined that they died of starvation. They couldn't get out. And so while they are discussing off on a side, Gamble goes and he picks up what looks to be like a little orb. It explodes, gets in his eyes, blinds him, and he's immediately beamed back up to Enterprise. And so before then, let me make sure I'm trying to make sure I got it correct. I'm pretty sure before that happened, there was a conversation going on. So here's the situation. Because of them finding the kind of remains here on the planet and in this little location, the Starfleet protocol is to leave the building and leave the area, contact the ship, and advise on what to do next. Corby's like, he doesn't want to. Even Chapel's like, no, and they try to point out that Chapel is leading the mission, but Spock is the highest ranking officer in here, because they needed extra hands, but they were only allowed to beam down 2 extra people, which was Spock and La'an. So Spock is basically the highest ranking officer on the away team right now. Spock kind of asked I forgot what his Jalon or M Jalon. I'm so bad at pronouncing these names, but basically somebody who knows the area to whether or not they should go back or not. And he essentially says he wants to push forward and things like that. And Spock just, he reluctantly agrees and they move on. So anyway, so picking back up with Gamble as he gets transported to Enterprise. Very cool. I didn't know. It's very cool to see. But M'Benga puts like this headset on, and it's designed to bioengineer new eyes for him. Which, no, never mind. That's a side thought that I was thinking of. But anyway, but but things are not looking as great for Gamble either. Because you could tell something's not right. Like, he's fine the first couple of times in the episode we see him after the accident and things like that. He seemed fine and everything, but you could tell there are moments that something's clearly not right with him. And M'Benga runs a test, and you see him like sit up and like tilt his head, or move his head, kind of like this might not be Gamble. And we come to find out that Gamble is technically dead, but not dead. He has no brain activity. His neurons aren't firing or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't make sense on what's going on. And as M'Benga is doing these tests, the same thing happens again. It's as if somebody takes over Gamble's body, and whoever this person is, or whatever it is, make references to M'Benga's daughter. And then a weird thing happens. Gamble, whatever Gamble is, gets into a fist fight with Captain Patel. As if whatever, because obviously we know Patel has the Gorn DNA inside her and things like that. So whatever's going on is as if these, whatever is with the Gamble and when the Gorn with Chapel, is as if they have a hatred of each other. And so I'm very curious on how that will play out later on in the series, or even if it does, maybe it won't show up in this season, which I'm sure it will, because of the ending, the way it plays out. So with the fight between Gamble and Marie, Marie takes him out and basically goes and they're able to capture Gamble, put him in the brig, and again, it's just kind of like it's still a little sketch, and because they capture him and he's like, "Do you want the brig or sick bay?" It is best to put him in the brig because that way he can't hurt anybody. Lo and behold, I don't know why this guy fell for this, but like Gamble gets possessed again, basically, and it's just kind of like, "Hey, Hagar, your mother is in pain," that kind of stuff. And the guard gets close enough to where Gamble punches, like not punches, but he like shoves his arm through the force field and basically snaps the guy's neck. And he goes down to engineering, and he has Sam, Pelia, and Scotty at phaser point, and he's talking about how I've got the boy's memories, everything he knows. I know I can basically run the ship through engineering. And M'Benga comes up behind him, try to persuade him to put down the phaser and everything. Sam's like, M'Benga, I think he's not there anymore. It's not him. And M'Benga is trying to help Gamble. He's trying to help Gamble fight whatever this is that's going on with him. Ultimately, Pelia shoots him, and we can see something leave his body. Scotty's able to recapture it within the like orb grenade that were blinded Gambler in the first place, and they send it through the pattern buffer, just like in the pattern buffer, and it's not going to go anywhere until they figure out what to do with it. And ultimately, Gamble is killed. I'm gonna put a pin in that. We're gonna go all the way back real quick to on the surface what's happening. So, meanwhile, they continue their analysis of everything here, and they ultimately get stuck. The door shuts behind them. The guy that they had with them basically gets evaporated by, I guess you can basically say, a security system to prevent somebody or something from leaving. And so they press forward because Beto, he sent his camera out to just explore the next chamber, and there's this large life form that's also not a life form. It's very science mumbo jumbo, to be quite honest. But they get separate. Everybody gets separated. La'an is with Chapel, Corby and Spock, and Beto and Uhura. And so they come to learn and realize that they're in the same. They can't see each other, but they're in the same room, but on different planes of existence or different dimensions, depending on which phrase you want to go with. And so Beto and Uhura pick that up because Beto's cameras are designed to basically lock in on each of them, landing crew members. And so we can see it through the camera because the camera is it knows where everybody is, and it's projecting on screen of where they're standing. And so they formulated a plan. They are able to take a tablet that they found and a ring that Corby found 5 years ago on another planet. Basically layer it to where Uhura. No. I think if I had to put it in an order, I think you would have Corby and Spock, Uhura and Beto, and then La'an and Chapel. So they put the tablet on, that appears to Chapel. They put the ring on, that appears to Chapel. And Chapel, because of her using her blood to basically activate everything, is the one to basically fix everything and bring everybody back to the same plane of existence. Now, this also basically falls into because the door is still there, but the bridge is not there. They can't see the bridge. Spock notices that he also has a cut, but then he doesn't have a cut. And so what he comes to realize is basically effect before cause. So in order for them to get out, Chapel has to be basically the leader here. But in order for them to get out, they have to walk across the invisible bridge that's there. Now, they don't know that it's there. It's basically a leap of faith. And obviously, Spock's like, it. Trust is a two-way street, and I need you to trust me right now. And it kind of lined up in an ordered way. So you have La'an, Chapel, Beto, Uhura, and then Spock and Corby. And they take that step, and the bridge appears, and they are out of there. And they rendezvous back on Enterprise, basically giving a briefing about everything that's happened. Pelia was interesting in this episode because she talked about how whatever this is, when she was talking to Pike earlier, when they were going over the little grenade, about how whatever this is, it's older than she is, as it's like ancient. And she goes on this like very creepy and dark monologue. And she just ends it like, "You want that for the camera, Beto?" He was like, No, that's fine. And so, but sadly, M'Benga calls Gamble's relative to let them know that he, was killed on a away mission, that kind of thing. And then behind M'Benga, the screen kind of flickers. So I guess what happened in this episode could come back up again, because we still don't know the situation with Patel, because there's a moment in the episode where when they're trapped in the facility, Spock picks up like kind of like a visor, and he's scanning, and he finds that there's like a well, and it has the same orbs that blew up in Gamble's face. And um as Spock is, kind of examining it, because one kind of floats up. I don't think it was like real. I think it's just floating up through the visor and things like that. It looked like, because it freaked Spock out, it looked like a reaction. Now, keep in mind, Spock did a mind meld with Patel in in another episode. So I'm curious on if, but they're like, Spock is now somewhat psychically linked to the Gorn the same way Captain Patel is, because we see it. There's a moment where, as he's looking at the orb, like the face of a Gorn kind of pops out and it freaks Spock out. So was this like the psychic link of the Gorn being aggressive towards whatever this orb is, whatever this entity is? Does the Gorn know about it? And so it was very interesting. Again, I'm very interested to see on how this plays out later on down the line in future episodes. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I know it's not a beat for beat episode review. I just wanted to give my thoughts about it and everything. But yeah, it was an interesting episode. I mean, we were already halfway through the season. We only got 5 more episodes left before season 3 is done. So, and there's a lot of Star Trek stuff also going on too, because not Star Trek in particular, but Paramount Plus and Skydance have merged. Well, I did a review of Star Trek Academy the other day with that trailer. So, but other than that, that's relatively it, guys. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching on Rumble, be sure to give a follow as well. We'll be live streaming tonight. We'll be live streaming tomorrow. So definitely come and hang out and have a good time. But guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next video.